In the 19th century, this guy, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto at the University of Lausanne in Switzerland, made a fascinating observation. He found that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by only 20% of the population. He would later go on to revolutionize economics with his published works on the Pareto distribution. The Pareto Principle, or the law of the vital few, is a powerful principle for life and time management, since only 20% of causes derive 80% of outcomes. By prioritizing the 20% of factors that really matter, you can produce your best results. In the early 2000s, Microsoft found that 80% of the errors and crashes in Windows were caused by only 20% of bugs detected, and that only 1% of these bugs caused over half of all crashes. The 80-20 rule, or the law of the vital few, can be applied outside of economics and business. It impacts our lives every day. For example, we eat 20% of foods 80% of the time. We use only 20% of the carpet 80% of the time. And even more familiar, we wear only 20% of our clothes 80% of the time. What's fascinating to me as a doctor is that I can see this distribution even in medicine. 80% of hospital patients that I see are affected by only 20% of diseases. This rule is a precept, however, not a hard and fast mathematical law, but its basic tenets lend well to ADHD. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Effort and reward are just not evenly distributed. Using the 80-20 principle with ADHD has allowed me to see great results throughout medical school and beyond. In this video, I'm going to share 5 tips for how you can use the 80-20 principle to optimize for your ADHD at university. Tip 1. Work smarter, not harder. Identify what really matters most. In this fast-paced world, we're used to the idea that being successful at university or in life compels us to work excessive long hours, sacrificing our health and wellness and the best years of our lives. It almost seems necessary to sacrifice this much to succeed. With ADHD, it's even worse, as we have to work twice as hard as everyone else to keep up. And we're also used to taking on too much and spreading ourselves too thin. Brian Tracy mentions in his blog, and I've included a link in the description, that by following the Pareto Principle, we can identify the 20% of actions or most productive tasks that can lead to our highest success, where there's an imbalance of effort needed to create maximum value, since 20% of tasks dictate 80% of our results. And he mentions a practical way of doing this by making a list of the top 10 goals that constitute your life, that can be university, work, or personal related, and asking yourself the question, if you could accomplish only one of these, what would it be? Then pick the second goal, and that's your 20% there. We can all focus our effort on 2 things at university. By devoting ourselves to these 2 things, we can gain asymmetric benefit. This also has the added benefit with ADHD of seeing things through, working smarter, not harder. It's easier to play the long game when you only have 2 things to focus on. It's very easy to live only in the short term with ADHD, but by picking the 2 highest yield projects or skills and dedicating your life to it, you have a chance of being great at it. You'll never be best in one thing, but by choosing 2 things to really focus on, you'll have a chance of doing decently well at both. This is why you don't need to be worried about not getting certain university society roles or internships, because most of it will probably not matter. Most things on my CV from medical school don't really matter. Only 20% of experiences help differentiate me. In other words, the minority of results come from the majority of opportunities. So really choose wisely what tasks you do. Work smarter, not harder. Since we've accepted that there's an asymmetric benefit, it emphasizes why we shouldn't take on too much with ADHD, as it's much more likely that it won't matter or generate asymmetric benefit in the long term. An important caveat, however, here is that whilst an immediate project you focus on may not generate benefit, a secondary opportunity as a result of completing the first project might generate benefit. So really figure out what your top 2 highest yield goals are at university and triple down. Tip 2. Make friends with university deadlines. We've all found ourselves in situations at university where we've been given 5 weeks to write an essay, but only really start writing it in the final week. Stressed, angry, hating your life, and you just want to avoid doing it the next time, right? Well, what if I could tell you there's no need to stress, you need to become friends with cramming and deadlines. Sometimes we produce our best work when it really comes down to the wire. When we look closely at the 80-20 rule, the vast majority of the time preparing for a deadline is just wasted time, since we'd use 80% of the time to only produce 20% of the work. It stands to reason we produce the vast majority of our best work in only a fraction of the time. So it's best to think of work intensity approaching deadlines as a gradual and intentional increase. This is also supported by Parkinson's law, since work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Even if you were given an extra week to complete the work, you'll still complete the majority of your work in the same period. This is why it's important not to peak too early, but have an appreciation for how your effort translates to work. Gain the confidence to know why you don't need to stress for deadlines. Make friends with university deadlines. This doesn't mean you leave everything till last minute, but you start to enjoy things more when it comes to the final week or so before a deadline. When you start to positively view deadlines, it just makes ADHD more manageable. You're far less likely to procrastinate and get distracted when you're actually enjoying the process a lot more. Tip 3. Building deep, meaningful relationships at university. When I look back at 6 years of medical school, I can count on 2 hands the really lifelong bonds I made with my university friends. I can also recall only a fraction of all the university experiences, events and activities that really will forever forever be etched into my memory. ADHD makes it hard to balance studies or working hard with socializing at university. I usually can only do one of these well at a time, so I'm probably leveraged towards working. Whilst the rule I live by is never having any regrets, I do wonder if I had spent less time working hard and studying and more time enjoying myself, I probably would have been able to achieve the same things and have made more memories along the way and looked out for my mental health. Not all social events or experiences are equal though. There's some experiences that lend themselves to having the greatest chance of impacting our long-term life view. Whilst I'm still working on this, it's important to appreciate that you probably don't want to turn down certain experiences because of work, even if you think your work is important. For instance, a few years ago, right before medical school finals, all my friends and I went on a beach trip. I wasn't really keen on going as we had so many exams to prepare for, but I'm glad I did. This trip has lasted in my memory ever since. The day was just so sunny and I made some great memories with friends that really matter. We become the sum of the 3 people we spend most of our time with, and this goes the same at university. It's important to really look at the relationships you have with your friends at university and make a decision on which 20% are the best support in you becoming the person you want to be, and really doubling down and investing as much time and effort into these relationships. It will also open more time for you to expand your network, as you won't be so bogged down with spending time with people that don't align with your vision and your values. This is something I'm grateful to have done at medical school, and all the friends I have into adulthood, we've really benefited from years of investment to build a deep, meaningful relationship. It's really a positive sum game. Our values align and help and support each other in our life ventures, and we're all better because of it. The 80-20 principle also applies to building good relationships with your partner. It's important to appreciate that 80% of problems couples face are caused by only 20% of their actions or behaviors. So by identifying the root cause of these conflicts, you can work towards becoming a better team. It's far better to identify the asymmetric actions that lead to most arguments, rather than focusing on the trivial annoyances that don't matter in the long run. Tip 4. Managing finances and making better purchases. The Pareto Principle can also be applied to managing our finances and making better purchases at university with ADHD. We spend 80% of our money on only 20% of items or experiences. Have a look through your finances and you'll see that this will broadly apply to you too. Try to find where you're disproportionately spending and see whether that suits your long-term university goals. With ADHD, managing finances can be even harder, so you need to really know where all your money is going at university. I've created a system to manage my expenses with ADHD using the Monzo app, so check out this video to learn more about it. It's key to make sure that things that you spend most money on at university really serve you and your long-term vision. Optimal allocation of your resources is needed to match your uni goals. For me, I'm into having the best tech and gadgets to accommodate for my ADHD, which is a very expensive habit, but the way I justify it is even if an item improves my efficiency by 1% or saves my time by 1%, that's daily time I'll have earned back from procrastinating or my inattentiveness with ADHD. For things that I use 8% of the time, I spare no expenses. That includes the 20% of items that I used 80% of the time, including my iPhone, MacBook Pro, university bag. Because of my savings in areas that don't really align with my objectives, I could afford to really buy the best gadgets and applications to help me living with ADHD and see asymmetric returns and have a good time whilst doing so. The key really is to learn to manage your finances with ADHD, not making spontaneous, non-deliberate purchases that don't align with your goals. Tip 5. Leveraging and outsourcing the 80%. Okay, so we've talked about working smarter with ADHD at university by finding the 20% projects that have the potential to repay asymmetrically. Well, it stands to reason that there's some tasks that you probably don't want to be working on along the way to tripling down on your 2 things at university. This is even more important with ADHD to avoid spreading yourself too thin. Fighting to maintain focus on your key performance areas, the 20% is key. In 2017, in my second year of medical school, I read Rob Moore's Life Leverage, and it really changed my life view. Life Leverage is all about not being a slave to your work, but outsourcing things that A, don't align with your key performance indicator, and B, don't align with your passion. Rob talks about how he leveraged his property portfolio so he could take less of the profits, but be free to live life to his own accord. At medical school, I applied this by constantly asking myself, what can I take off my plate? Sure, I'm not in a position of authority to outsource all 20% of things that don't matter, but by merely asking myself, should I be doing this right now, and can I be focusing on something else right now, I was able to identify projects that didn't align with my vision or could be outsourced. For instance, I've published many papers at medical school where I was very happy not to be first author and take a back seat, in order to allow someone that was more passionate about the project to really drive the paper forward. Similarly, by finding things that you can try and leverage or outsource is a high key way of becoming more efficient with ADHD and working smart, not hard. In this video, we talked about a few strategies to leverage the 80-20 principle to make the most out of university living with ADHD. For more videos on how I stay on top of my ADHD whilst being a doctor in the UK and a PhD student at Oxford University, please subscribe for more and let me know in the comments what topics you want me to talk about next. Till next time.